get started. So, hi everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Just a reminder that these meetings are going to be recorded because we're trying to make sure that everyone has access to them. You're able to go back and watch them, and people who are out of, the regular U.S. time zones are also able to watch them. They will be available on YouTube, and also if you can't come to class one day, that's totally fine. You can just watch the lectures, and you have any questions, you can email any of the instructors. So I'm going to start sharing slides. Okay, so hi everyone, welcome. We're so excited to do this class and really help teach the Racecar program to everyone. So we are from BWorks. Generally, BWorks is a series of summer classes, but Racecar specifically has gotten a lot of renovating over the past couple years. We taught a class during the summer to high school students, and we've also uploaded the course online as well, and hopefully that could aid you with your teaching. So we have 4 instructors. So people who have a MacBook and are good at MacBook questions. Their names are Roman, Kobe, and Valentina. And then I have a Windows computer, so if you have any Windows related questions, then you should probably ask me. And then here's all of our lovely faces. We all go to Harvey Mudd College, as you can see in the bottom left corner. And yeah, we're all excited to have you here. And then an overview of the course is that we're going to be fully online, as in we're administering these lectures over Zoom. You can find the lectures on YouTube. And we're going to be mostly working with not mostly, we're going to be fully working with the Racecar simulator. We're not going to be touching on any hardware. But if you would like to incorporate hardware in your class, you're able to go to the website, and then it'll tell you where to purchase the parts and how to assemble the parts, and how to connect the programs that you have on your computer to the physical race car. But we will not be covering that. We'll be working with the Racecar simulator. It's great because it's free. It works on everyone's computer. You don't need a physical race car to run all these programs. And for this course, we're hoping to just share our resources and what worked well for us when we taught this course several times, and just hopefully tell you during this portion, here are some potential things that might go wrong, and here's how to fix them. Here's lots of troubleshooting over here. And we'll also be working mostly with Python, and we'll be doing some terminal work. So for Mac people, that will be in Bash. For Windows people, that will be in Ubuntu. And then if you're not sure what those are, that's totally okay. We're going to get to that part. And then today, hopefully our plan for today is to finish setting up your computers. The setup does take quite a while, and it has lots of different steps to it. And then also once we have that ready, get familiar with everything that you've downloaded and sort of know what everything is used for and what can potentially be used for. And then we'll be sharing our OpenEdx platform, which we've recently created, and we've put the course online. It's a really great resource because it has lots of goes really in depth on the labs. It has lots of questions, really great. And then we also have an autograder to help you with grading if you want to go in that direction in the course. And we're also going to introduce Python and some of the things that we work through. We worked with a range of students. During the summer, we worked with people who already had some Python prior experience. But over fall, we taught a course to high school girls who had basically no prior experience. So first we taught the Python section, then we delved into some of the labs, so that hopefully they will be ready to take the summer course. for Racecar this upcoming summer. And then some extra information. This course, you can watch through Zoom. You can follow along through a series of videos. Feel free to leave at any time. That's totally fine. But the great thing about being on Zoom is that you can ask questions, but you can also ask questions for us over email. We all respond pretty quickly. And then we're going to be sending out a Piazza invite, first of all in the chat, and then after class in an email, we'll send that out as well. So Piazza is a great resource for asking questions and sort of like uploading your code and be like, hey, where did I go wrong? And like people like can respond if they've had a similar problem, or you could have one of the instructors like respond to the problem. And then if you have any extra questions, we have additional time a little bit before class and a little bit after class. If you want to stay with us in chat and ask any questions about like what we've covered or something like that. And if those times don't work for you, you can always email us and ask us to set up another time. We're happy to chat about how the course is going, like where it's going, like how you envision it for your class. And yeah. And then does anyone have any questions? I see there's a couple things in the chat. Let me try to open up the chat box. Usually it doesn't let me do that when I'm sharing a screen. Time zone, thank you. Time zone, those are in PST. 3 of us are on the West Coast, and then Valentina is the East Coast person. So yeah, all times will be in PST, my bad. Does anyone have any other questions? Okay, cool. So now we're gonna go into 2 different breakout rooms. We are going to try to finish the setup. So we're gonna have a Windows breakout room and a MacBook breakout room. But if you have something that falls in between those, then feel free to message me and then we could try to figure that out. I'm gonna pause. I'm going to share my screen. And this is where everyone should have left off. So should have downloaded Ubuntu, but haven't like started it yet. Then I'm just gonna sort of like talk through the process. You feel free to like download and like listen. And yeah. So the reason why we stopped at like this part is usually people have some trouble like starting off Ubuntu. The main thing is that once you open it for the first time, it'll install for a few minutes, and then it'll ask for a username and a password. So username, like you type it on the screen, is just fine. Username, press enter. But then for the password, you're going to be typing stuff, but you're not going to be seeing stuff. But it is there, I can assure you. So just really be careful like what you type for the password. And if you're not sure, just hit backspace 30 times and retype it again. And this part is really important because if you don't remember your password, it is difficult to reset it. We found the most success in just like reinstalling Ubuntu, which is quite a lengthy process. So just make sure that yeah, your password is something that you know and it is there. And also, I would at any point in this course, like whenever you're typing in the terminal, avoid spaces because it gets very confused by spaces, especially like if you're trying to put something in the folder. It's just gonna go over its head completely. Let's see. So then that's step 5, and feel free to like go along with the steps, and then we'll give like a little bit of time for you guys to catch up, and then I'll keep talking about like the different things that we've encountered during those steps. If you're a little bit behind, that's totally fine. Just keep going at your own pace. And then you don't necessarily, the get line endings, we can talk about that later. And here's the troubleshooting for the Ubuntu password, but it is pretty lengthy. So it's best to always avoid all that. And then the Python libraries, just go ahead and type them in like one at a time into the terminal. And some of them take a while. Like I think NumPy and like OpenCV, those take like quite a few minutes to download. If it doesn't like download all the way, like it just ends at like 90%, just retype the command again just to make sure that it like downloaded everything that it needs to download. And generally you don't want to like move on to the next download until like one is completely finished, because otherwise it's going to get like quite a bit of backlog. Tyler, did you ever use Ubuntu before? Or did you set up the password and the username at a different date?
I literally installed Ubuntu last night. I didn't follow any of the other directions. I got up and walked away from my computer because it was 8 o'clock at night. So I didn't realize there were other steps. And now when I open it again, it's not asking me. It just says root at my desktop name.
Interesting. Okay. It's my dog. I would say like uninstall and reinstall just in case, because I'd really hate to go through a lot of steps and then it asks for a password that you're not sure of.
I guess I'm saying I did not set a username and a password. Like that did not happen. I did not do that step.
It's interesting.
I'm gonna reinstall. Wait a minute.
Yeah, it's probably.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Yeah. I received a message. Actually, all those work for me, except that I received a warning. I need to add the home user local bin to path. Now, I did some research online last night. I followed the instructions like export to the $ home to path, but as far as my understanding, it only works temporarily, only for one time. How can I add the local bin to path?
I think that problem should be resolved once we like install the Racecar tool, which is super great because like you go into Ubuntu, you type in like Racecar CD, and it just like takes you to where all the files are, and you don't have to like type in everything every time.
Okay.
Yeah,
got it.
so that is something that we'll set up in the future. But if you're still having problems, please let us know.
Okay. All right. Cool. Thank you. My other question is the Jupyter extension enable.
Mm-hmm.
It keeps giving me the error message.
Okay.
And it asked me to download the Jupyter Core, which I did. I installed the Jupyter Core using PIT3. Then I still get the message when I run that line of code. Is the last line Jupyter MB extension enable?
Yeah, I'm getting that message as well.
Yeah.
I think I don't know why it's like that, but go ahead and try to download go ahead and type that. Oh my god, my voice. Go ahead and type that into the terminal like at a later date, because it is just, I don't know what it's like, that one singular line that is just like, okay, I'm done.
Okay.
So yeah, it should work if you type it in a little bit later. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And we don't need it for anything today as well, so that's totally fine.
Okay.
And then we're not sure what computers your students will be working with, but if you think that a significant portion of them will be working with MacBook computers, we do recommend that you go and watch the videos. Right now, there's another breakout room. They're recording like everything that they're saying in there, and then that's also like a great resource because MacBook comes with its own like sets of like troubleshooting and like things to watch out for. And then feel free to ignore everything that has to do with hardware installation. But if you do want to install any hardware, you are able to like go back on the website and like go through and like set it up. Let me see.
I'd just like to add a little note that in like when you're like if the student is like has a Windows and a Mac and trying to decide between the two, generally I feel like Mac is going to be easier setup and easier just like overall running the course. But the course was originally made on a Windows computer, so there's also that to be said. But everything's been tested out already, mostly. So the Mac, I feel like, is usually the better option if a student comes up and is like, which should I choose?
But Windows is really great too. So yeah, Python libraries take a while to install. That's fine. And then let me talk about the Xserver. So yeah, just go ahead and download these and have it like be in the settings. And then eventually for one of the later labs, you'll have to type in 42 right into here, the display number, and then it'll like give a separate window from like the Racecar, like the Racecar simulator itself, where you can like view exactly what it's like seeing in front of the car as an extra step. And then basically you don't have to worry too much about this right now. But let's see, I'm reading the comments in the chat, and if you have any questions, feel free to speak up and or drop comment anything in the chat.
Okay, so I think I finally caught up with one of the questions that other people were asking. I'm doing the third line that says install Python 3 pip.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't seem to be working.
Your computer might want to, you might want to be just using pip and not pip3. So try doing the same command, but just with pip.
I didn't put pip3, I just put -pip. It's Python 3 -pip.
This is in the Python libraries.
The Python, yep, that third line there.
Third line, I see. Then I don't think pip is installed for I don't
It just ran again. Sorry.
I think the pip extension is like not on your computer. So
I just ran it and it's running.
Okay,
I must have
cool.
something wrong. I apologize.
Yeah. So if there's
Don,
like any specific like issue, sorry, Roman, give me a second.
Mhm.
If there's any specific issue, honestly, Google is a great resource for you to use. Like Stack Overflow, like sometimes people can get snarky on there, but they'll tell you like, oh, just run this command, and then that usually works well. So if you're running into like a super like uncommon error, like that's always a good place to start, as well as turning off and turning back on your computer. Roman, go ahead.
I was just going to ask if Don got his issue fixed or not yet.
Stack Overflow is definitely, I agree, it's a great resource. And in most cases, what happens is that the problem that you faced installing this or one or the other command or Python libraries or something, already somebody else already faced the same problem and question would be already out there. So if you just Google it with those keywords, you will hit that right away.
Mm-hmm. And like if it's like far past like this course is ending and you're teaching the course and there is something that like you can't find a solution to, feel free to email us and we'll set up a meeting to try to figure it out. So hopefully everyone is just continuing to install, like setting their password on Ubuntu, and then downloading some of the Python libraries, downloading the Xserver, the Xming, and then the Xserver. And then once you have all of that, I'll just talk about GitHub really quickly. So GitHub is a wonderful, amazing thing because you can store your code on GitHub. You can see like all the different like versions of your code. You can share it, like you can look at other people's code, like you can make a classroom where people can like submit their code and then you're able to look through it. I would really recommend it because like GitHub, like you can move around between computers and like program's gonna stay on the computer, but with GitHub you can just like take it anywhere, pretty much on any computer. And then we're gonna ask you to make a GitHub account if you don't have one already. And then here's the link for that. And then, oh, there's 7 messages. Did I miss something? Okay. 1 second. So go ahead and yeah, follow the steps like on the website. I'm gonna drop the website in the chat. Pull up the chat. Okay. Everyone go. And then we're gonna ask you to create a team so you're able to like download all the code, and then that's also preemptively like setting up for the Racecar tool. Then the Racecar tool is like something that you can open your terminal, you type that command, and it like instantly takes you to where you need to be. You don't have to go through any commands there. And then let me try to answer some questions in the chat. So we were thinking about like trying to put this online, and like, you know, have it just be like a Chrome or something. But the issue that we're running into mainly is that the simulator takes a lot of processing power, and it's generally not something that can run just like outside of a program that's like on the computer running. It can't just like run on like Chrome or like Firefox or Safari. We are trying to work on that, but again, this course was made like less than a year ago, so we're slowly but surely adding different components to it. And if that is something that we add in the near future, we'll definitely like send out an email and let you know.
Yeah, just to add on to that, the person who built the simulator kind of acknowledged that like they wanted to have it to be downloadable to the local computer as well. And just the way with Unity was working for him, he had to do that, and he couldn't find a way to do like an applet online or like a little like web program instead. So that's part of the reason, one of the reasons why we have to do all this through just like your local computer instead of like a remote desktop or something.
Yeah.
I definitely do agree that setup is one of the more difficult points of this course. It's probably going to be your most bug-ridden, error-prone portion. So we're trying to find a way to make this a little bit easier, but from like how it is now, like from a scratch computer, it's going to be just a lot of downloading stuff still.
So then GitHub, as you can see over here, has like all the different has all the different folders of the code. So most of the code is contained like in the labs. And then libraries like extra supplementals, like different functions that are written. And then scripts generally don't necessarily want to change that part. I'm gonna open up my GitHub account. I have to sign in. Yes, okay. So for me, here I have a couple repositories. So repositories, they're like projects, if you will. They can be as small and as big as you'd like them to be. For example, like I did a hackathon, and these are all like the different files that we downloaded, and then we worked on each of them separately. And it's great because then like if different people like work on something, like I'm working on the config file, but say Amani over here is working on the results file, we can both like upload our code, and it'll just like create like a together code with like both of our parts on it. And questions in the chat. Okay, having a hard time. Okay, let's see. Same. You don't necessarily need to set up your. I'm not sure if you mean like any like other specific settings other than what it asks you to do, like on the website, like create a team of the like demo.py.
Yeah, sorry. Like what I'm asking is, like as a teacher or whatever, what exactly are we using this for? Is this where our students are going to each keep their Python code, or is there some sort of master code of some sort that needs to go in there? Could you just kind of give an overview of how a teacher or a group coach of a team is going to be using the GitHub exactly?
Yeah, for sure. So GitHub is first of all a great resource for the students because they can like transport the files even like very large files like anywhere. So say they're working on a computer like at school, and then they can like upload or push, in this case that's called uploading, the files like onto GitHub, and those like files are on there. And like for example, if they want to go home and work on their own computer, they're able to do that. Like they can like pull the information like from GitHub like onto like another computer very easily.
Sure, it's like cloud storage, I guess. But I just
why would they do that versus dumping it into a Google Drive folder?
Yeah, or why don't they just have their own GitHub folders? Like, what as a teacher, what's the purpose of, or how would you? I mean, I'm sure there's good ways of making use of GitHub, but I just wasn't quite sure how maybe you've used it or how you would recommend that we use it.
So another good thing about GitHub is that you can track like all of the changes that you've uploaded. So like if you're like just writing code inside a program, like you can't necessarily go back on like large chunks of code. But in GitHub, you can see like all your previous versions, and that's really useful because once like say you like added like a whole bunch of things and now your program's not working, you can like go back and like look at your previous version and see like what you did differently, and like try like adding like the steps like one step at a time, and sort of like debug through that. And then another thing for teachers specifically, GitHub has a classroom feature where students are able to form their own teams, and they're able to, and then you as a teacher is also able to access and like see the code that they're writing, and then to possibly like give feedback. And it's like Google Classrooms, but very much like coding based. Yeah. And then, yep. GitHub Classroom. And then, let's see, let me zoom out. And again, you don't, the Racecar MN, that's like physical Racecar, you don't have to worry about that. But you are able to access that at a later date. And then if you're not sure how to use Jupyter, we do go over it like the first time we start a like Jupyter lab, but this is a great like starting resource just to see what you're working with. And then, yeah, so this is like the instructions for how to run a Jupyter Notebook program. And Jupyter Notebook is really great because it's like very like visual. You'll see it a little bit later, but it's very like visual, and also like it's like a little like fill-in activity for the students to do. Like for example, like in our version, we have the students write some of the functions before like they get to use them. Like in Python, like we have them like do the Jupyter Notebook and write some of those things, and then and that's, we thought that that really helped with like the really understanding like, okay, what exactly does this function do, and like how does it work, like how can we implement it versus just like, okay, just use this function, we don't know how it works great. And then let's see. Let's go to the setup helper. Okay, this is in labs. It's a bit difficult to find. Getting started. So then once you've like created a team on GitHub Classroom, and like you have the code on your GitHub account, you're able to go to the Racecar setup helper, which is it's under the prerequisites, and then it's like Racecar installation right here, and then you can go here, and then for now go ahead and select student, and go ahead and like paste in your repository. So how do you know like what your repository is? So for example, I'm gonna go to this homework that Roman and I did, and then you see this button right here. You click on it, and then you're able to copy the link right there. So download code and then just copy. And you're able to paste it in here. This is another step that is slightly faulty because some people have spaces here, which just again confuses the computer to no end. So let me reshare my whole screen, and then I can demonstrate more in my folders about that. I'm gonna share my whole screen. And then so in the folders, like for example, I want to go on desktop and then maybe like create a new folder that's a test Racecar or something. You want to make sure that first of all the name doesn't have any spaces in it, and then to get the path, you go into the folder, and then you go up here, and then you just tap, and then that's going to give you the path. And then again, you want to make sure like look at that path and make sure that it doesn't have any spaces in there. Like there's no like Alina space Serato or anything like that. That is definitely something that you have to change before you input into the Racecar setup tool helper, because the tool won't work if there are spaces there. And then we're doing this for the bigger picture. We're basically doing like we're setting up. Oh, did not copy and paste that. Let me do that. Copy. So in the broader picture, we're doing this 90s looking website over here because that way, like we don't have to, like when we open up a terminal, we don't have to like find like where all our code is. We can just like type in a command, and it's going to take you exactly to the folder where all your files are. And then from there, you can decide, okay, I want to run this program on the simulator, or like I want to maybe navigate into a different folder. And then for this part, you can just set it to 000. This is more important when you have a physical race car. And there's going to be a number on the router, and then just make sure you select that you're Windows, and is this right? Because that's has to be a valid link for let me go to my projects right here. Okay. So,
Lena, if I can interrupt,
go ahead.
I think there's some confusion why we're doing the Racecar tool.
Yeah.
The Racecar tool is basically there to help kind of abstract some of the details of the terminal mostly, and to help basically implement or allow us to basically connect our Python programs to our simulators. So it's going to be kind of the crucial bridge between your Visual Studio Code or your environment, coding environment, and then the simulator itself. So it's going to allow for basically easier terminal usage for students who may not know command line. I think that's usually something pretty useful for them because it abstracts a lot of the details and worrying about oh, which repository do I need to go into, that sort of thing. But then also, like I said, it's useful for the simulator because it allows it to connect to the simulator. Did that answer your question?
I think so. So the Racecar tool is sort of it's a piece of software that links the Python code that the students write to the simulator.
Yeah, I think that for the online course, that's going to be its main purpose. But again, as well, it also makes a lot of the, for the online course at least, it's mostly for the bridge between the simulator. But for the physical race car, it also makes the physical race car process a lot easier. Normally you have to run teleop and have 3 terminals open and all that stuff. The Racecar tool basically allows you just to do one simple racecar command, and then it works. But since this is a fully online course and we're just looking at the simulator, it's just going to be that bridge between the two, the Python program and the simulator.
So I think this is what you are explaining, but where is the Racecar tool? It's on a GitHub site, and we are downloading that. Is that what we're talking about right now?
So the Racecar tool is just this lines of code right here on this website. The GitHub is more for your version control, pushing your labs and stuff. We're just getting that set up for the classroom, so then basically students can push their code onto it. You can look at it later, that sort of thing. The GitHub and the Racecar tool are 2 separate things, but definitely the Racecar tool itself is all these little lines of code that we put into the terminal.
Okay, so we're just loading that. We're downloading that into our Ubuntu environment. Yeah. It's basically like a command that will run when we run Ubuntu. Okay, got it.
Yeah. Hopefully that answered your question, though.
Thank you.
Before anyone gets here, in step 3, when you're cloning the repository, make sure you paste in only 1 line at a time, because sometimes it can get a little funky, and again, until it finishes the first step, don't go on to the next step. We don't want it to be overwhelmed. And then step 4, you're able to just paste in all of the stuff once. And then for step 5, I prefer to paste in the top portion first, and then the bottom portion, and then the shell, just in case to not overwhelm my computer. And then to make sure that we have the Racecar tool set up successfully, you should type in Racecar test, and you should get all the information that you put in. So this is where all my files are stored, IP, and then the team that you chose.
I think I'm just going to jump in again and answer another question. So the IP address, that's going to be used for the physical race car. So the physical race car will have its own router for it, and then it has its own IP address. because there's gonna be a Jetson Nano, it's basically like a mini computer. So that's gonna have its own thing, and that's gonna, the IP address is where you put in that Racecar IP address, so your computer could connect to your Racecar. For like strictly online versions, you could just use 0.0.0.0. That should work. But if you do plan on using a physical Racecar, we would definitely need to find the IP address of the Racecar, which we'll get into later with the OpenEdx. It has a physical Racecar portion to it. And there's also, it'll be linked to like the physical website, and I'll walk through that as well. But for our course here with just the simply online, you don't have to worry about that. Just keep it default 0.0.0. The physical race cars,
They're expensive.
they're expensive. They definitely gone down in price a lot. They used to be a couple thousand. I think the cheapest model now is going to be like 750. And that's just for buying all the sensors and stuff. Again, that's why we think the simulator is so powerful, because it's free and it's mostly the same. You don't get quite the same hands-on experience, I'd argue, but you still get to see something move with your Python program. I think that's still a rewarding experience for students.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I'm finally caught up, and I made it through the GitHub thing. I saw, Roman, that you put up a different website for the Racecar thing. I don't see where that is in here at all. I'm sorry. I was not caught up with you guys.
I didn't throw a Racecar website. Oh, okay. You're talking about the OpenEdx website. So okay, we created this OpenEdx website that's free to use for everyone. We'll get into that later, so don't worry about that just yet.
That's not the thing I'm talking about. There was something that connected the terminal to the.
Oh, the Racecar Tool setup. Yeah, for sure.
I don't see where that setup is.
Okay, so if Elena, do you want a screen share? You can walk through that. It should be under Racecar installation, but I'll send a link as well.
Yeah. I always have the most trouble finding like this one specific link, the Racecar setup tool helper. It's like one little hyperlink. But
so it's going to be unlike the Racecar website, it's going to be under setting up your local computer, Racecar installation, and then it should be under the prerequisites. It'll say Racecar installation, and then it should have like a screenshot of the Racecar setup helper. It's just that one little hyperlink on follow instructions on the Racecar setup helper instruction, or Racecar setup helper. I sent the link in the Zoom as well. Yeah.
Oh yeah, another thing that quite a bit of students run into, and they question like, why isn't like the tool working, is that they open up the default terminal that comes like with a Windows computer. So they open up a PowerShell, which is not compatible with the Racecar tool that we have. So that's why we go through the lengthy process of downloading Ubuntu. So they say like this command's just not working, just make sure that they have Ubuntu open. And that happens a lot more often than you might think. I think I'm going to pause the recording here and just give everyone a few minutes to catch up and ask any more questions that they have to resume recording. So let me share my whole screen. So I'm going to open up Ubuntu. So great thing, like here I'm basically nowhere at the very beginning. And then I type in Racecar CD and boom, takes me right there to like where it is. Versus like if I didn't have the Racecar tool set up, I would have to like search for the MNT file, then I'd have to search for like the C file and like all of that. And then we're going to be explaining like all the different things that you can type into the terminal a little bit later. But for example, right now I'm in my labs folder. And then like this is like if you type in ls, like this is everything that is in that folder. So for example, I want to go to my lab 2. And in my lab 2 folder, I have a beginner Python file. That's also something that we have available. Like if you feel like your students, like they don't know a lot of Python, and like even with like some presentation, we do have easier labs for them to do. We just don't want to post them like as a whole to the entire thing, because again, like we're trying to like curb like cheating as much as possible. And like if they're supposed to just do like the regular like 2A lab, we don't want them to like look at the beginner version and like see what things already have been filled in. But that definitely is an option. So if I want to run something, I'll type in Racecar sim, and then I'll type in one of the lab names, so lab2a.py. And then we're definitely going to go over this a bit later. So now it's going to wait a little bit. And then this is how, like, see, we're loading the Python script into the Racecar simulator. And that way, once I open up the simulator, which I'm not going to do because it takes a lot of processing power, but once you do that, you're able to enter into the mode where it's like you wrote the, like it's entering the mode of not just like free, like for all driving around. It's going to just follow like the instructions that you wrote in your Python file. Then the Racecar tool is basically like you're trying to like, you can do all these like really handy commands, like just go straight to the file for like Racecar CD. Or like you could do like, you can just type in like Racecar sim, like then the lab name, and have it just like transfer over. There's a lot of like in between steps that we felt the students like didn't necessarily need to learn. So the Racecar tool is like a great like overhead abstraction tool. Yeah. And then got a couple questions in the chat. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. Tyler, did you have the Racecar
Share this.
Okay, so if you're having to paste in Ubuntu, you need to right-click something, and for some people that might not work. So to bypass that, you go to the top left corner, the little orange and white thing. You click on it, go to edit, and then there is a paste option. And then if you have your Racecar tool, like if you have Racecar test successful, it gives you like all the following information. Now you are able, you could try to run your first program. So let me share my screen. So for me, I closed my Ubuntu. Okay, that's totally fine because we have the Racecar command to help us. So we type in Racecar CD, and we'll explain a little bit more about these commands later, but and then we right now I am in labs. So you're going to want to navigate. I think it should be, the default is that everyone is like in labs right now. And then if you type in the letters LS, then it gives you like all the different like options. So the little highlighted ones, that's going to be like folders that you can like jump into. But anything that has a py after it, .py, that is a Python file that you're able to run on the simulator. So to run something on the simulator, you type in Racecar sim, and then the name of the file. So I think the best file to run is going to be test_utils.py. And then it's going to tell you Python script loaded, awaiting connection from Racecar sim. So I already have my Racecar simulation up here. And I'm just under miscellaneous and demo. And I just click begin simulation. Then once I click begin simulation, it should give you the message, the connection established with Racecar simulation. And then you press enter to enter user program mode. And then it's also going to give you a series of these messages. So you are able to drive around, which you were not able to do before. Do some pass by the cones, go up. I'm not going to go there. And then it's a really nice environment. And then when you're still in the simulation, go ahead and click. Oh no. Let's see. Right bumper. So the right bumper button is the backslash key. It's like underneath the question mark. Let me go ahead and run the program again. And then your sim. Oh, and also if you're typing in the same thing like over and over, go ahead and hit the up arrow and it's gonna like give you the same command as like you typed in before. So you don't have to type it in every single time. So I'm just gonna run this thing again. And then we'll begin the simulation. Go to user program mode. And then I'm going to click on the back key underneath the question mark. And then it should give you some message, right? My computer is a little bit messed up. I've been playing with the settings, but it should give you like some like color information on that. That's the right lab. 1 second. Well. Okay. Basically, I think it's fine if you get this message, but you just want to make sure that you're getting some form of like messages and that you're definitely able to drive around in test utils when you enter user program mode. And then you enter that by clicking enter. Also super useful. All the controls for the simulation are on here. Like with a physical race car, we use controllers, but for us, we use keyboards. So there's all the different things that we can do. And then really cool, the space thing is, I closed it. Okay. Did not mean to do that, but that's okay. So the space.
Alina, in Racecar Simulator for this one, test utils, we select the demo level, right?
Yeah, so miscellaneous and then demo level. Yeah. Just make sure that it's like giving you like messages back. And like once you have that established, you know for sure that everything was set up good and that you can do that. And then I'm going to test here. So if you press the space bar, boom, you can move around views, which this is really useful. Like for example, in our first lab, we have the students drive around in like different shapes. Like we want them to drive the race car around in like a circle or a figure 8 or a square. And this is something that is like something really useful. Like when, like for example, if you're in this mode, you can't necessarily tell if you've driven in a circle, but if you're in the top-down mode, you can. And I definitely recommend having like some form of like marker, like this orange cone, so you know for sure. Like if it's all gray space, it's kind of hard to know, but that's going to give you some. That's going to show you if you actually like drove in the circle or not. And yeah, the simulator can do a lot of pretty cool things. I'm going to stop share and look at the questions.